Well, this is where having a team of mentors around you is so critical, because sometimes we're so deep inside the jar that we just cannot read the label. And having these people who offer other ideas and other perspectives really helps strengthen us. And sometimes they tell us we're making a mountain out of a molehill, or here is some ideas we can try, some strategies we could consider. And these are the people who have your best interest at heart. Your success is their success. So these are the people that you wish to surround yourself with, a whole team of mentors. And, you know, as I said, I share what the 4 elements of success are, but as an educator, what kind of adult educator would I be if I didn't teach people how to actually implement these 4 elements of success in their own lives? And that's what the entire last third of the book is all about. It's all about implementation techniques. But, you know, what works for me may not work for you. And what works for you today may not work for you when you have a transition in your life, a move, a new job, a pandemic, whatever it is. So as adults, we need options. We need a buffet of options that we can choose from. And that's why I tell people The Success Factor is really a book that you could just leave on your nightstand. And when a strategy is no longer working for you, you can just pick it up and go find another one. And then you can also discuss it with your team of mentors. Have you tried this before? Have you done this? What do you think? Or you try it out on your own and then let them know if it's working or not working so that it can be fine-tuned a little bit.
This is the Play Your Position podcast, where we huddle up, call the plays, and inspire you to run your ball into the end zone. Are you ready to score more game-winning touchdowns in your life, business, and career? Then listen up, because it's game time, baby. Now, here's your host, Mary Lou Kaiser.
Hello, Team PYP. Mary Lou Kaiser here. Welcome to another episode of the Play Your Position podcast, where we talk about all things leadership, personal growth, success, and how you can get out there in this amazing game called life that we all play and win as much as you possibly can and have a lot of fun while you're doing it. I'm super excited about our guest today. Her name is Dr. Ruth Gotian. She is coming to us from New York City. Ruth, are you ready for kickoff?
Oh, I am so ready.
I love the enthusiasm. So team, here's some things that I know about Dr. Ruth Gotian. She is the Chief Learning Officer and Assistant Professor of Education in Anesthesiology and former Assistant Dean of Mentoring and Executive Director of the Mentoring Academy at Weill Cornell Medicine. She has been hailed by the journal Nature and Columbia University as an expert in mentoring and leadership development, and is currently a contributor to Forbes and Psychology Today, where she writes about optimizing success. She also has a weekly show and podcast by the same name, where she gathers high achievers to talk about their journey to success. She was recently recognized as the #1 emerging management thinker in the world with the Thinkers50 Radar Award, dubbed the Oscars of Management Thinking. Her new book, The Success Factor, is available, and we're going to be talking about that today, along with a lot of other things. So, Ruth, it is so great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to geek out with you.
I know, it's so much fun. So my first question for my guests has to do with when you got the call to leadership. Would you please tell us the story about what you remember when you realized you were going to pursue a path of leadership?
Well, I think we need to go back to the 5th grade. I'm not sure that I ever knew I was a leader. I just knew I was not satisfied with the status quo. And it's actually, there's a sports reference here. When I was in the 5th grade, this is 1980, and during recess, the boys would play soccer and the girls would trade stickers. And if you had stickers with the googly eyes, that was a hot commodity because that had moving parts. I was not so interested in the high commodity sticker exchange. I was more interested in kicking a ball around. So I told my teacher, I said, I'd really like to play soccer. And at that point, there was no separate boys and girls team. There was only one team and it was all boys. And I was told girls don't play soccer. And I said, okay. So I went to the public library on Friday, took out every single book they had with a picture of a girl playing soccer. And Monday morning, I put the entire 2-3 foot pile of books on his desk. And I said to him, I'd like to revisit that conversation about girls playing soccer. And he had no choice. He had to let me play. I could only play on the boys team because that was the only team there was, and the rest is history. And I played all throughout high school. And what I quickly realized was that, and I didn't even realize it then, it was only as I got older, I quickly was the one organizing operations, organizing people, building that team, building that community. But all this time, I thought I was going to be pre-med. And I went into chemistry class in college. And after one class, not the entire course, one 40-minute class, I said, oh no, this is not for me. And I said, well, I think that's when I noticed that management and leadership comes very naturally to me. So I studied business for both my bachelor's and master's, and later on got a doctorate in adult learning and leadership. So I guess I was destined for this from just because I didn't care for the status quo and was going to work to change it.
So would you say that you're still unsatisfied with the status quo? Is that something that continues to drive you today?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I think whenever you see status quo, that's people resting on their laurels, because there's always something more, always something better, always something more innovative that you can do or surround yourself with or find people who can do it. Because if you're not innovative and you keep resting on your laurels, all I have to say to you is blockbuster.
Wow. So when you look around at the world today, we're recording this at the end of 2021. We're still facing the aftershocks of a global pandemic. And there's a lot of other things that are happening in the world, of course. Besides that, what are some of the visible signs of the status quo that you see and think to yourself, wow, too many people are buying into that?
So how much time do you have? Well, look, I became obsessed with high achievers because I used to run a program for what's called MD PhD. These are people who have both the MD and the PhD degree simultaneously. And I did everything there, cradle to grave: recruitment, admissions, operations, budgets, grants, crisis management, student affairs, fundraising, marketing, alumni relations. And in this group that had a 3.5% acceptance rate, that means you have a better chance of getting into Stanford than you do into this program. Even there were people who were rising to the top. But all of the national attention was on those who were leaving the profession, what we call the leaky pipeline. And it's the same thing in any organization. So if you are in your annual performance appraisal, a 3 is average. You get a 3, they leave you alone. You get above a 3, they definitely leave you alone. If you get below a 3, below average, well, then you get a corrective action plan. Then you have somebody who checks in with you for accountability. They send you to courses and workshops to improve certain skills. They give you a lot of time, a lot of attention. But what happens is the people at the other end of the spectrum, those high achievers who are going above and beyond, are not getting any attention. And I quickly learned that those are the people who produce 400% more than the average employee. But what happens if they're, yes, and if they're not getting attention, they're leaving. And then at best, you're going to be stuck with average employees. At worst, below average. And that's when I realized we cannot be accepting average. We need to raise the bar. And frankly, I don't think people wake up in the morning aiming to be average. I think people want to be successful, don't really know how. And that's one of the reasons that I created the Success Factor.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. This book that's out, The Success Factor. You've been studying high achievers and noticing patterns, and you obviously just shared some very fascinating data with us. Tell us more about your book. What's your thesis, your main point, and how can it benefit listeners?
Sure. So, I literally got a doctorate in success. I've been studying this at a very, very deep level. And it started with physician scientists, the Nobel Prize winners, the people who got the big scientific awards, since that was my world and still is. But I then really expanded that to other extreme high achievers, the astronauts, the Fortune 500 CEOs, the Olympic champions, senior government officials, to figure out if they were all the same. And what do you know? The astronaut and the Nobel Prize winning scientist is just like a gold medal Olympic figure skater, exactly the same. And if that's the case, I realize that these are learnable skills. And if they're learnable skills, I'm an adult educator. I can teach it. So I reversed engineered the path to success, created a blueprint, go all over the world virtually now, talking about it, speaking about it, and write articles in Forbes and Psychology Today about it, and wrote the book, The Success Factor, about it. So happy to share what the 4 main elements of success are, if you think your listeners want to know.
Oh, yeah. Lay it on us, Ruth. Come on. We want to hear.
Okay. So as I said, they all do, the astronauts, the Olympians, the NBA champions, the NFL Hall of Famers, they all do the same thing. So first of all, they're intrinsically motivated to do this. They absolutely love this. They cannot see themselves doing anything else in the world. So for example, if you have somebody in your family who died from cancer, and you want to commit your life to making sure nobody ever has to go through that pain again, you are going to do everything you can to fight it and to find a treatment for it, right? And this is if your passion is science, which means that when you find challenges, like your grant not getting accepted, the experiment's not working, it's not going to matter. You're still going to push through because you've got this fire in your belly. It's the reason you get up in the morning, and it's the reason you can't quiet your mind at night. You are just fueled by this. You are not doing it for a prize or recognition or promotion. There's something bigger. There's something much bigger at play. And that's the first one. And the second one is when you find what you love so much, you are going to outwork everybody. And I don't mean that you're going to work 18-hour days. I mean, you're going to milk the productivity out of your peak performance hours. So if you are a morning person, you're going to do your more cognitive work in the morning and leave your passive tasks for the afternoon. So for me, for example, I do my writing and my editing in the morning because that takes significantly more focus for me. And I do my Zooms and my emails in the afternoon when I'm a little slower, a little foggier, and it's a little harder. And nobody has to tell me to get to work. And I certainly am not dropping my pen at 5:00 because you find what you're passionate about, and then the work just comes that much easier for it. And as a result, when you're faced with challenges, you never, ever question if you are going to overcome that challenge. You know that you will. The question then becomes, how are you going to overcome that challenge? It's a shift in mindset. It's never a question of confidence. It's a question of what is the strategy I haven't thought of yet. That's the second one. Now, the third one is a strong foundation, which is constantly reinforced. So that means that anything you did early in your career, you're going to continue doing later in your career as well. Now, I know you love sports references, and I can tell you I've spoken with many, many, many Olympians and NBA stars and NFL Hall of Famers. And I can tell you that everything that the NBA players do to warm up and practice before a game, I can tell you you'd see the same exact drills in any junior high gym. The only difference is the NBA players have better sneakers and better equipment and higher salaries. But the drills are exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Sure.
In fact, when I interviewed Ryan Millar, he's a 3-time Olympian, and he won the gold medal in men's volleyball in Beijing. And he told me that the most important thing in volleyball is ball control. And he told me about this warm-up that they do, this drill called Pepper, which you can Google. It's all about ball control. He told me that when they did that to warm up for the Olympics, it's the same drill he did as a 7-year-old in his backyard with his brother. Same exact drill, Pepper. So that's the third one. And the fourth one is, no matter your status, no matter your award, no matter your recognition, you're constantly learning, constantly surrounding yourself with people who can teach you something. Now, we're adults going back and sitting in a classroom for 6 to 8 hours a day. That's not realistic. But there's so many other ways that we can learn new things. We can read books. We can read articles. We can read blogs. We can listen to podcasts such as this one. Hopefully, I'm sharing some good stuff with your listeners. YouTube videos, Clubhouse, social media, wherever you have the opportunity to learn new things. Now, that also means that all of these extreme high achievers surrounded themselves with not one mentor, but a team of mentors who believed in them more than they believed in themselves. And that, if you do all 4 of those things, is how you become an extreme high achiever.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It's so valuable. And I love that you started, before you got into the 4, you said you reverse engineered.
Yes.
You broke it down and you realized these are learnable skills. And if they're learnable skills, they're teachable skills. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah. I mean, as a fellow educator, someone who's passionate about teaching and the experience of learning, it's not about the person in the sage on the stage, right? It's about the guide on the side, somebody that brings content to the environment, whether it's virtual or in person, and gives people the chance, especially adults who want to engage with content, but bring their experiences to the group and not just be a sponge, which is...
That's correct.
Yeah, still. And I've had so many conversations over the years on this show about what it takes to be an effective leader, what it takes to have that fire in the belly. And here you are, having gone so deep into what success looks like.
Yeah.
It's really not that difficult, but it does take a mindset, and it takes making the decision that this is what you're going to do and be, and not just, kind of gloss over it and go, well, that didn't work out, so therefore I must not be a success. Well, you gave it 3 days?
You know what? I was 43 when I started my doctorate.
Oh, see?
It took me a long time to figure it out. So, and I can tell you, so many of these extreme high achievers, they tried things and they did not get it on the first time. In fact, Dr. Peggy Whitson applied to be an astronaut for 10 years. She kept getting rejected.
Wow.
She became an astronaut at the end after 10 years of trying. She also became the first female commander of the International Space Station, something she held twice, a role she held twice. She was more days in space than any American astronaut of any gender, and she became NASA's chief astronaut.
Wow.
Did she give up? Nope. In fact, of all the astronauts who I interviewed, only one of them got it on their first try.
So that begs the question about, so you're getting at persistence. It's never giving up on the dream.
Yeah.
Believing so deeply in yourself that whatever that thing is that you're chasing or wanting to achieve, that you'll get there.
Yes.
But what did you learn from all these people that you spoke with and studied about the flip side of constantly going? what do successful people do to recharge, to rest, to find that center again when life gets really crazy?
It's so interesting that you mentioned that, because they all realize that what you do off the court is as important as what you do on the court. So Karen Davies is another 3-time Olympian in rowing. She won multiple gold medals. She said early in her career, every minute was work, 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 work. But it was destroying her body. And she realized that those rest days are what could heal her body. And that's why she capitalized on those rest days as much as the workout days. And in fact, Apollo Anton Ono, the most decorated Winter Olympian and mirror ball champion on Dancing with the Stars, he understood that. And he said, because, he's been doing this since he's 14, he understood that everything that you do off the ice, and I'm not just talking about resting and not working out, he worried about how much he slept, what he ate, his psychological mindset. I mean, I studied this stuff, right? I'm an academic. He studied it because he wanted to get better at his sport. And he knew it wasn't just about working out and his blades and his speed. He knew it was also about getting his head in the right space. So he studied all of this in order to get better on the ice. And that's part of what he did off the ice. So rest is rest for your body, but it's also how you charge the other parts of your body.
Yes. Yeah. Mindset. You've mentioned that word several times. It's everything.
Yes.
The mind, what the thoughts we have dictate how we feel about ourselves in the world. And then that leads to the behavior, that leads to the action steps that we either take or don't. Yeah. And, to be able to recognize the way Apollo Ono did, hey, it's not just about me being out there on the ice trying to beat my fastest time.
Yes.
It's about getting the right shut-eye, eating the proper nutrition, spending time with good people who uplift me and don't drag me down. And so for people who are listening who may be struggling right now because of the conditions in the world, perhaps their state or country has just returned to some more strict kinds of, movement, can't travel again, or we're not letting you, go out. And even for here in America, where depending on what region of the country you live in, there's been different kinds of approaches to managing the current situation. What kinds of, tips do you have for listeners about how to move past what is going on and keep that big vision in place if they're struggling to even believe that it's possible?
Yeah. Well, this is where having a team of mentors around you is so critical, because sometimes we're so deep inside the jar that we just cannot read the label. And having these people who offer other ideas and other perspectives really helps strengthen us. And sometimes they tell us we're making a mountain out of a molehill, or here is some ideas we can try, some strategies we could consider. And these are the people who have your best interest at heart. Your success is their success. So these are the people that you wish to surround yourself with, a whole team of mentors. And, as I said, I share what the 4 elements of success are, but as an educator, what kind of adult educator would I be if I didn't teach people how to actually implement these 4 elements of success in their own lives? And that's what the entire last third of the book is all about. It's all about implementation techniques. But, what works for me may not work for you. And what works for you today may not work for you when you have a transition in your life, a move, a new job, a pandemic, whatever it is. So as adults, we need options. We need a buffet of options that we can choose from. And that's why I tell people The Success Factor is really a book that you could just leave on your nightstand. And when a strategy is no longer working for you, you can just pick it up and go find another one. And then you can also discuss it with your team of mentors. Have you tried this before? Have you done this? What do you think? Or you try it out on your own and then let them know if it's working or not working so that it can be fine-tuned a little bit.
Yes, I can tell that your book is one of those that I could just open it to any page and read, and something on that page would be inspiring or give me a new way of thinking about my situation.
That was definitely the goal. And that's why I ended every single chapter, not just with takeaways, right? You have that. A lot of books have that. But coaching questions that you could ask yourself in order to help you get to that next step so that you're never staring at a blank page. There's always things that you can be doing. And these are micro steps. We're not here to lose 50 pounds. We're here to lose 1 pound 50 times.
Right.
It's halftime here at the Play Your Position podcast, and we've got ourselves a great game. While you're up grabbing another snack and topping off your favorite beverage, make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss another play. PYP is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever great podcasts can be found. Now, let's get back to the game.
I think that the conversation about success and leadership it continues to fascinate me because conditions do change. And to your point just now, what worked for us at a certain stage of our life may no longer be relevant at a later stage. And because, you work with a lot of organizations, you talk to a lot of leaders, and one of the hallmarks of today's workplace is you've got sometimes up to 5 generations all in there.
That's right.
You've got Gen Z who are digital natives. You've got millennials who are sort of digital. They're kind of a hybrid. Then you have Gen Xers squeezed in the middle, smallest generation, right? Then you've got the boomers who are still working. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, you have senior boomers who didn't want to stop working for whatever reason, need to work for economics. So do you address the generational, is success a universal thing, Ruth, or is it really relevant to the generational conditions?
It's not even the generational conditions as much as it is rank and gender.
Okay.
I've written a number of academic articles about that. I don't really talk about it too much in the book because I didn't want to go too deep into the academics.
Right.
But anyone who looks on Google Scholar can certainly find the article where I talk about how it's different by gender and rank. But I will tell you that people have different definitions of success. But one of the things that's uniform amongst all the definitions is that success is, for these extreme high achievers, they are creating a paradigm shift. They are shifting the way we're thinking about something. They are moving the field forward. But at the same time as they succeed, they're pulling people up with them. They are paying it back and paying it forward. So it's never just about them. It's also they're bringing people up at the same time. And they do that different ways. It's one-on-one mentoring. It's running entire groups. So for example, Dr. Charlie Camarda, another astronaut, after he retired from NASA, he's an engineer. And he said, we need to get the young generation now thinking bigger. They need to have no fear in their thinking and their creativity. And the kids need to teach the adults how to think that way. Because the kids, they don't know what they don't know, so they're not so scared.
Right.
So he created the Epic Challenge Foundation, where he gives them epic challenges. And then they figure it out, which is frankly how before he went up on the return to flight mission after the Columbia disaster. And he actually built something in his friend's garage, which they took up to space, which they later needed to use in order to get home safely. So he wants everyone to be able to have the capability to think like that, which is why he started this entire foundation, this entire nonprofit. So here's this he's an astronaut. What does he know about starting a nonprofit? But he so believed in it. And he now has helped people all over the world.
It's such an inspirational example of possibility thinking, of not allowing your chosen path to define you, which you talked about earlier, that we are not our roles, we're not our titles, but our culturally, at least again here in the States, and I think in other countries as well, there's so much stock placed in that ladder that you move up in the corporate model, and people get attached to being called a certain title because it's attached to prestige, salary, privileges, things of that nature, where I'm seeing, especially in the last couple of years where, everything was kind of thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Like nobody knew, now it's, and with the internet, you can learn really anything that your heart desires.
That's right.
On YouTube.
That's right. That's right.
And it's just a matter of what you said earlier about having the courage to, face your fears and go for it.
Absolutely.
And not allow that, so what if I don't know how to start a nonprofit? There are lots of people who do, and I can find them.
Exactly. And that's what he did. And that's exactly what he did. Yep.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So Ruth, who inspires you? Who do you turn to when you need to be uplifted? Is there a coach or mentor who has been instrumental in your life as this amazingly successful woman?
I have many of them, but I want to mention a few of them. One of them is Dr. Bert Shapiro, who ran all MD-PhD programs at the National Institutes of Health. And he actually wrote one of my letters of recommendation when I was applying to get my doctorate. And, I was 43, as I mentioned. And when I told him, I said, I want to get my doctorate, he didn't think it was crazy. And him not thinking it was crazy meant a lot. And when I was deciding what my topic would be for my dissertation, he didn't tell me what he thought. He told me, do something important, not just interesting. Because if it's important, it'll have an impact. But if it's interesting, it's a hobby. That one statement changed the course of my life. So I am very grateful to Dr. Bert Shapiro. And then my doctoral advisor, Dr. Marie Volpe, who is 84 years old now. And she still has, I think, over a dozen students. She's still working. And she's incredible. And I think she made me happy with my writing and confident with my writing, which I wasn't before. And then finally, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who is the #1 leadership coach in the world, repeatedly ranked #1 leadership coach in the world. He's in the Coaching Hall of Fame. And he actually wrote the foreword to the Success Factor. And he gives me regular reminders about not holding on to negativity and not letting other people's negativity rub off on me, because everything used to stick to me. And he really was chipping away at me and saying, you got to let it go. You got to let it go. You got to let it go. And I think when I did start to let it go is when the momentum really started to build. And for that, I'm always thankful. Oh man, gratitude, even for the rough patches, even for the negative, changes everything.
Yeah.
And to have someone like that who isn't afraid to call us out on what they're witnessing, those are the people we remember, because, it's great to when you get the accolades of, oh, you're so, and I'm sure you get them all the time, because I just know you're an amazing teacher, you're an amazing mentor, you're an amazing leadership development expert, and your book is fabulous. But it's when somebody who can, again, care enough about us to pull us aside and say, you know what? You might want to stop with whatever.
He calls me out all the time. And in fact, he calls me out when I'm going down, spiraling. But
yes,
when I won the Thinkers50 Radar Award,
which I was shocked. I thought I was having a heart attack in my office. I was so shocked when they called my name. And, still I can't wrap my head around it. He was the first person to call me on the phone. And he called to congratulate me. But then he said to me, your life is going to change now. I have no idea what he means by that. But I know that when Marshall Goldsmith tells me something, I better listen because it happens. So I still don't know what it means, but I'm really excited to find out. I think and hope it'll mean great things. Already great things have started to happen, but I am just embracing it. And still what I love is just surrounding myself. And Marshall offers this opportunity for those of us in the 100 coaches to get together virtually. And I get to just learn from people who are smarter than me every single week. And I love that. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
I concur. And I just wanted to reiterate to listeners that this award that Ruth recently won, dubbed the Oscars of management thinking, is no small feat. I mean, this is a phenomenal achievement, and it's because of how she chooses to show up in the world. It's because of the way she approaches the work that she does. It's because she made a decision to never accept the status quo, to never rest on her laurels, to never think that she had made it. That's when we get into trouble. Every single time, life is going to punch us down when we forget that we scramble, work hard, and then we get to that next level and think, aha, I've arrived. No, you haven't. You may rest and enjoy that spot for a little bit, but guess what? The journey continues. And now the journey is into the unknown again. And that's what life is. And that's what all these people that you based your book on talk about. That you can never just sit back. Tom Brady isn't sitting back going, yeah, I've been playing for so long. I've won, 7 Super Bowls. I'm married to a supermodel. I have beautiful kids. I'm just going to kick back and not. No, that man is in the park at the practice field first. He leaves last. Emmitt Smith was the same way. Incredible running back or wide receiver. I always forget, but it's the people that you're early. You arrive early and you stay late. And there's always one more thing that you can learn. And there's always somebody who's smarter than you. And you find those people. I mean, I am humbled, absolutely humbled to be speaking with you, Ruth, because you really do embody success. And not just because in the material sense, but in the spiritual sense, in the leadership sense, like you really are here to make an impact.
I'm trying.
And I love that quote. I'm stealing that. Do something important, not just interesting. I think that's fantastic.
I said it's tweetable. I said I'm going to put it on a t-shirt.
It is. Seriously, I might make a t-shirt out of that. I love it. Yeah. So I would love for you to look into your crystal ball for a minute. I know none of us can predict the future, but I think those of us who've been around and understand patterns can make some educated guesses. What do you see having the greatest impact on how people are successful in the next, say, this decade of the 20s? What factors are going to play a role?
I think what's important, and I shared what the 4 elements of success are, but I think, and you have to do them all at the same time, but you have to start with that first one, finding your passion. You must do it. And there's so many ways to actually start figuring it out what that is. And one of the ways, if your listeners want to do a passion audit, which is what I always recommend, they could just download one off my website at ruthgotian.com/passion audit. And it really takes you through the steps of what do you enjoy doing? What do you not enjoy doing? What are you good at, but you don't enjoy doing? What would you do for free if you could? It really gives you some insight into what you're passionate about, but that has to be the most important. And I think that's what we're seeing now, and we've been seeing during COVID, during this great resignation, people are searching for their passion. So I hope all the listeners out there can find their passion, because there's actually research that shows that if you spend just 20% of your time working on your passion project, then the rest of the work will not deplete you as much.
That's not that much, 20%. Yeah. That's a cool stat. I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, team, this, the link to do a passion audit that Ruth just shared will be on her show notes page at pyppodcast.com, along with a link to get her book, The Success Factor, and also just check out her website. But we're at the part of the show now, Ruth, that I call Touchdown. I was telling you about it in our pre-chat, which means I'm putting you in the red zone. There are 30 seconds left on the clock. You are down by 4 points, which means it is now or never. Would you be so kind as to share with us a story about a time when you helped get that ball into the end zone for the game-winning touchdown?
Well, I don't know that it's quite so colorful as that, but I want to share, and I'm hoping that this will inspire. When I got my doctorate, I got it at Columbia University, and I did it while working full-time and raising my family. And I saw a classmate in the hallway, and I talk about this in the introduction of The Success Factor. And we're talking about our careers and what we want to do after we get our degrees. And I was still trying to figure that out. And he said, well, what are you a thought leader in? And I said, I'm not really sure I even know what a thought leader is. And he said, well, it's something that you're uniquely qualified to do, that people come to you for your expertise. And I said, I think I need to figure that out. And that really started me on the journey of what am I uniquely qualified to do? And then going back to Dr. Bert Shapiro's comment of do something important, not just interesting. And that is when I started really studying success so deeply. And I think I hear from people all the time that it inspired them to do many things. The fact that I'm studying success, and also the fact that I went back to school at a later age. And I know of at least 5 people in my close circle who decided to go back to school, everything from finishing their bachelor's degree to getting a law degree to getting a master's degree in their 60s, all because they heard the story that I'm quite open about. So I think there is no time limit to when you can do great things. So if I can inspire one person to carry it on, carry the torch and do greatness, then I think that's a winning touchdown.
I think it is. And I will second that. My studies of people succeeding, so many of the folks that get held up as, these icons of whatever, the arts, deep thinking, science, medicine, they were not in their 20s.
Nope.
We've had this interesting 15, 20 years now because of technology and the internet, where we're seeing these very young people rise to, positions of incredible power. And that's an anomaly. Most people it's not until after, some people say after 40, and others will say it's not until they turned 50 that they realized, man, this is when my life really starts. And they went after the big goal because they were done with the kids, or the kids were just getting ready to leave, or they were just so busy living and not giving themselves the time to devote to the passion.
That's right.
So I love that you say that. Love, love, love. Yeah. Now, for people who'd like to just learn more about you, obviously you've got this passion audit, but where do you hang out online, Ruth? Where can people find you?
All the social media, it is just my name, Ruth Gotian, R-U-T-H, G like Gary, O-T like Tom, I-A-N like Nancy. And the website is ruthgotian.com. And there's a link there for the books as well, ruthgotian.com/book.
Yeah. And team, you want to get this book. I mean, think about kicking off this new year. 2022 is wide open. And if you've been listening to what Ruth said today, as I have, anything is possible. You don't have to be limited by your circumstances, your age, your education level, your zip code. It's a choice. It's a choice. And I think reading her book is going to be one of the best gifts you give yourself to kick off 2022 with some inspiration, with some actual things you can do, the implementation that she offers in the book. And so absolutely grab yourself a copy and let her know that you liked it. Leave her a review. That's so important to authors. We're so grateful. So grateful when we get a review. And obviously my podcast, anybody who's creating content on a regular basis, whether it's in a blog or a column, a podcast, or you spend so much time creating a book. If you like what you read, let her know. And speaking of books, Ruth, as we wind things down, this amazing conversation today, could you recommend a book that either is a go-to for you that you go back to over and over again, and one you read recently that really did make an impact on you?
So I read 70 to 100 books a year. So asking me to pick one is tough. But let me give you a few who were written by friends of mine and I think are great. One is called The Long Game by Dory Clark. And it talks about we can't have this instant gratification and why it's worth having strategic patience. I think that's fantastic. Another one is an autobiography by the Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Robert Lefkowitz, he's one of the Nobel Prize winners in my book. He is hysterical. He is so funny. And he talks about his upbringing in the Bronx to the Nobel Prize and what that journey was like and how he got passed up.
And what's the title of that book?
That's called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Stockholm. Stockholm is where they give the Nobel Prizes. So those are two really, really great books, which I highly recommend.
Okay. So I'll have links to those two guys on Ruth's show notes page at pyppodcast.com. Of course, you can go straight to the links that she shared with us today. And like I said, this has been a lot of fun. You have inspired me as we're looking ahead to a brand new year with so much possibility. And congratulations on your achievements, on your awards, on your new book, all the things that are happening for you, Ruth. Your life has changed. And how exciting.
It is definitely thrilling.
Yeah, definitely thrilling. And I wish you just all the success that you deserve moving forward.
Thank you. Likewise to you too.
Hey team, Mary Lou here. Who's number one in football changes from year to year. Fashion trends come and go, same with musical tastes. But leadership skills, they never go out of style. In fact, these days, leadership is an essential survival skill for a world that demands more from us than ever before. To succeed these days, you need to know how to show up for yourself so that you can then do the work you love with people you like the way you want. The Play Your Position Leadership Playbook helps you do this, and it's free. Go to pyppodcast.com to download your copy today. If being more successful this year, next year, in the 21st century is on your to-do list, get your copy of the Play Your Position Leadership Playbook now. pyppodcast.com. It's at the top of the page. You can't miss it. That's pyppodcast.com, and start being more of the leader you are meant to be today. This podcast was produced by Daniel Romeros. Show notes for this episode can be found over at pyppodcast.com. I'm Mary Lou Kaiser. Thanks for listening.
Here at the Play Your Position podcast, we believe that the road to self-mastery and a life well lived starts with answering the call to leadership. That's when the fun really begins. Send this episode to any friends who might need to hear the inspiration and ideas you heard today. And feel free to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform.